Welcome to the A2 Show with Andrew Cass and Aaron Parkinson, bringing you the trends and topics that affect our lives the most: business, politics, fitness, family, and finance. With over 50 plus years of combined business experience and over $1 billion in revenue generated, your hosts have a unique gift for seeing many steps ahead where others do not. They bring their unfiltered, contrarian views to the show every week to help you win in business and in life.
Aaron, the time has come where we need to unpack one of the bigger elections we've seen in our lifetime. I think at least one of the most controversial, one of the most anticipated, certainly one of the most volatile. And the numbers are in. As of the time of this recording, we are almost 2 weeks out from the actual election, and it was an absolute romping. We were jokingly talking about this the other day. I don't think I've ever seen a time where there was a 100-point electoral difference. That was huge. And a 5 million, I'm looking at the numbers right now, I'll bring it up, and a 5 million vote difference in the popular vote. And then on top of that, a Senate and Congress sweep by the Republicans, which means in those four categories, it was a clean red wave sweep. It was really unbelievable. Now, the goal of the show today isn't to talk about who's better than who or, who did what wrong, although we'll talk about that from a business perspective today. The goal today is to talk about how did it happen? How did somebody who raised $1 billion in cash lose so big? And how does somebody who has lawsuits thrown at him every other day, it felt like for 3 years, win so big in the mind of the people? And there's a lot going on here psychologically, marketing, message-wise, branding-wise, positioning-wise, that I think you're going to take away some great lessons on how to run a promotion and how to run your messaging, because most of our viewers are business owners. So I think for the most part, what you'll get here is A, some psychology on why it happened. I think it is fascinating. And number two, what could it mean to your marketing, your promotion, and your messaging as a business owner moving forward? So here we go.
Yeah, this is one of the most interesting elections that I've ever seen. And it's important, I think, to remind our viewers and our listeners, I'm Canadian. I don't live in America. I live in the Cayman Islands, which is a country that has no taxes of any type and operates quite differently than the rest of the world. And so I don't really get involved in a lot of following of politics because I kind of feel like it can be a distraction and I need to be focused and control what I can control. But this reminded me of the banking meltdown in 2008, where in both instances, when I watched the election and when the election was finished, in both of those cases, I felt a huge sense of relief when it was over. When Obama was elected in, I felt like this looks like an adult. They have everything under control. They're going to go in and solve this issue that's been created by the bankers. And I felt very relieved when that happened. And I felt the same sense of relief this time when it happened, because I felt like the country was definitely had been put on the wrong track for the last 4 years. It didn't really have much to do with the fact that Trump was leading the party. If anything, I think almost anybody else in that position would have won.
The landslide would have remained the same.
I think the landslide would have remained the same based on how the campaign was run.
Exactly.
I don't actually think it had anything to do with Trump. I think if anything, Trump probably made it even less of a landslide of what it could have been.
I completely agree. And matter of fact, I'm going to bring this up, Aaron. It's a good point that you make. It's an interesting point you make from an outsider as well. But check out this chart right here. Let me see if we can write. Here it is. So this is the final numbers. 312 Trump, 226 Harris, 74,648 popular, 79,115 popular, almost a 100-point landslide. Aaron, let me tell you something. I'm going to throw two names out here, and I'm going to come back on here. If Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis were the Republican nominees, they were the two closest to winning in the primaries. I'm telling you right now that it would not have been 312 to 226. It would have been something like 380 to 180.
I can
Trump,
see that being a reality.
yeah, and here's the thing, because Trump carried the legal baggage and all the stuff with him, and he obviously has challenges communicating. You and I have been very critical of Trump over the years with his communication style. We've generally liked the communication style better of somebody like a Ron DeSantis or a Nikki Haley or a Vivek Ramaswamy, right? These are really, really good up and coming people.
RFK.
Well, RFK for sure, but he's not a Republican at this time.
Right.
Well, he's almost there now, right? He's kind of there now. But for sure, we were RFK guys all the way. So naturally, when he joined the Trump team, A, we were surprised, and B, we were now suddenly supporters of RFK. I firmly believe, and we'll talk about it in the show, that RFK's presence on that ticket was probably responsible. My estimate is about 10 million votes, which absolutely swayed the election. The Elon Musk factor on top, also a former Democrat who got involved, not because he loves Trump, but because he saw the Marxist socialist agenda train moving forward, also had a major impact, specifically because he has a huge platform owning Twitter, right? But let's unpack that for 1 minute, though, because I know that the left likes to go, oh, it wasn't fair because Elon Musk has his own platform and that's not fair. He can get in front of 1 billion people in no time. Let's be clear. In 2020, Mark Zuckerberg was one of the largest funders and promoters of Joe Biden. He censored his platform. He's now admitted it. He removed conservative viewpoints, and he funded that administration to the tune of $500 billion as a Facebook social media platform owner, and Facebook is by far the biggest. So we could call it people like to call it election interference, but it really isn't. It's just billionaires deciding they want to get behind and promote a candidate, which couldn't be more American. They have every right to do that. It doesn't matter if they own a social media platform, if they own a car company, if they own Tesla, if they own whatever you want to call it. That's how democracy works. You can get behind anybody you want to get behind.
I also don't think you can overlook the Joe Rogan effect, if I'm being honest.
No question about it. It was late, Aaron. It was really the only thing I would say about that is, yes, I'm with you, but it was really late. It was like a week out.
Yeah, but sometimes when you come into the 12th round with a fresh fighter,
good analogy.
It makes a big difference, right?
Or like I say, 2 outs in the 9th inning, and you're bringing your 105 mile an hour high heat fastball guy in to finish it off, right?
And he's really built his podcast and his reputation on being very down the middle.
Oh yeah,
putting the hard questions at people and calling them out on their nonsense. So he's really built this following of when he takes a stance on something, people believe that that he hasn't been manipulated or he hasn't been bought. And when he said, hey, Trump, do you want to come on? And Trump came on and he said to Harris, do you want to come on? And she said, no, I don't want to come there. You have to come to me and you only get 2 hours and it has to be scripted.
45 minutes, buddy.
Whatever craziness it was.
That's a difference.
They kind of shot themselves in the foot there.
Oh, no doubt about it.
And then eventually he came out and he said, just in case you want to know, yes, my vote is for Republican. So not only did he interview, he came out, which he rarely does, and says, I want to be very clear here. Yes, this is an endorsement of this party.
I caught that.
Because he'd had enough of what he had seen. Very, very similar to Bill Ackman.
That's right.
Very similar to RFK, who didn't even really want to partner with Trump. He was
correct.
He was very clear about that, but he felt like if he didn't, the negative outcome was too large for him to stomach at a conscious level.
Absolutely.
So it was very interesting that all of these mega powers effectively aligned and said, we're not playing this game anymore. And it really landslide crushed. And I would say probably in spite of some very odd things. And again, keep in mind, I'm not American, but I've had a lot of conversations with people saying, people being able to vote without ID is insanity. There's no good reason for people to be able to vote without ID. No country lets you vote without ID. This is standard practice.
It was astounding to watch.
It was astounding, right? And if you look at some of these elements, mail-in votes, no ID voting, people caught making mistakes at voting centers. I think it was a landslide in spite of some tomfoolery. that was going on.
I'm going to bring this up again to your point about the no voter ID, because I know people can go, oh yeah, that was just a rumor. No, it actually wasn't. So see these blue states, Aaron? I mean, this is a red wave if I've ever seen a red wave. So, and traditionally these are the blue states that always tend to be blue, right? Top, far left, top right. Right? New England, New York area, metro area, California, Oregon, Washington. You want to hear something funny? Now, I don't have the exact stats on this, but I have most of the stats on this. Out of all of those blue states, there might be 14 or 15 right there. I believe somewhere between 9 and 12 of those blue states were passing laws that would not require voter ID. This is fact now. Now, California is a fact. California passed a law. I kid you not. Make sure you're sitting down. California passed a law, Aaron, that says they are not allowed to ask for ID at the 2024 presidential election because it would be racist and discriminatory. There were videos of people showing their ID, and the people working at the polls go, no, new laws in California, we're not allowed to see it. We can't ask for that. It's discrimination. We're not allowed to see it. The guy running California, Gavin Newsom, is the most radical, far-left, toxic, Marxist, communist that has ever entered politics in American history. He is no different than the people who run North Korea, China, Cuba, or Trudeau, who's all the way down the path of communism, in my view, in Canada. He is no different. He is the most dangerous man that has ever put on a suit and been a politician in America, just on that alone. But that's only one of about 9 things he's done over the last couple of years. That's pretty radical.
The sad thing about that is that there are definitely laws that I think have been put in place to offset racism and things like that. And I think many of those laws are probably very good, and they were probably overdue. To hide behind that in what looks like an obvious attempt to steal votes.
Oh God, yeah.
Makes people very uneasy. And
I think it pisses them off too, to your point earlier. People got pissed off this time around. They weren't like, Trump's our guy, he's the best, he can fix it. They were like, stop constantly cheating and doing identity politics and making everyone a racist and all this woke ideology and this tribalism. Like, none of this is politics.